6R. 6R means 6 different R. Okay, so here rehosting. Maybe you might have heard about the terms, but you might not have understood what exactly these are the difference between them. Okay, rehosting, repurchasing, replatforming, refactoring, and retaining and retiring. Okay, so there are 6 different R. So all of them start with R, right? That's why they call it as 6 R's. In some organization, they will use 5R or 4R also. They might not take some specific strategies, but these are the general 6R strategy that you can take whenever you want to do a migration or transformation or modernization. You can take any of this particular approach. Okay, these are all very easy to understand. Okay, so when you say rehosting, we are changing the host, meaning we are changing the server hardware. Okay, we are moving from one company's server hardware to another company's server hardware, or we are moving from one server hardware to another hardware. That is the rehosting. See, for example, if I am migrating from on-prem hardware, server hardware to Azure server hardware, that is called rehosting. Okay, to Azure server hardware, this is all rehosting, because we are just only changing the hardware. The virtual machine will remain the same. The VM will be untouched. Okay, we are just migrating as such. Okay, so the VM's layer and the operating system application will be remaining as such. So replatforming is actually changing the platform. We are, see here, you can, some people use some easier terms, simple terms. Okay, simple terms for rehosting is lift and shift. They call it as lift and shift approach. They just migrate the virtual machine. They just move the VM from one server hardware to another server hardware. Replatforming, we can say lift. We are making some tinkering, like maybe you might be upgrading the platform version from .NET 4.5 to .NET 5, or maybe Java version X to Java version Y. We might be doing some tinkering and shifting it. So we are actually migrating to a platform in Azure rather than infrastructure as a service movement. We are migrating to possibly like you are changing to Azure SQL databases or Azure App Services. We are just repackaging the code. So there is a code change that will happen. This is, they call it as repackaging. To support the package or to support the code in the cloud space, there is no major application overhaul, meaning we are not completely changing the application architecture or nothing we are doing. We are making some small code change to be present on the Azure platform. So we are bringing the application to Azure platform, either Azure Web Apps or Azure App Services or Azure SQL database. We are just bringing the services or application to Azure platform level. Definitely there is no major application overhaul. You should not completely change everything. So it is just a small tinkering. Tinkering means, you know, right? Like you're just doing some small changes in order to make it compatible with the new platform, the Azure platform. So we are not doing any major architectural change here. We are not doing any application overhauling here. So definitely there is a small code change. So here definitely we need to involve the application development team. Without their help, we cannot do a replatforming. So app development or programming team is involved to make some minor changes. Okay, so repurchasing means we are dropping the on-premises environment and shopping from the cloud. We are going and running some application on either Azure VM or Azure App Services or whatever. So this is called drop and shop. Okay, we are dropping whatever we have in the on-premises, but again here we need to have a lot of investment, right? So it is like you have to go and invest a lot of money in the cloud side, and we are going and purchasing it. So see, rehosting, it's more of a move to infrastructure as a service approach. Replatform is moving to platform as a service approach. Okay, so repurchase means it can be anything. Okay, you can shop a VM, or you can go and shop a web app, or you can go and shop a SQL database. You are dropping whatever you have in the on-premises, and you are going with a complete new technology in the cloud space. Okay, it can be infrastructure as a service, or it can be a PaaS, or it can be DR as a service, or whatever, right? It can be any technology. So next one is re-architecting. This is the most complicated one. So we are going and changing the complete code to be made suitable with the cloud. There is a very high cost involved here, and there is a very high risk because we are taking a lot of time to because like it is going to be a very high service disruption here, because we are spending time to completely change the functionality to suit it in the cloud, or we are doing an application modernization here. We are refactoring here. We are completely doing the development from the scratch here. We are completely changing for the new business opportunity, or we are just going towards the new modern way of operating business. So this is called as modernization or refactoring concept. This is the most toughest one and the complex one, where the enterprise architect is involved, developer is involved, all the business stakeholders are involved. So the next one is retaining. See, some application you might have recently invested. You might have recently purchased a license, or you might have recently purchased a server hardware, or you might have purchased a renewed the licensing, or you might have invested in something. Okay, so in that case, customer will not be happy to move those workload to the cloud. So we might revisit that after 2 years or 5 years, once after the license is over, or once after the current purchase is completed, once after they get back the investment in terms of revenue, then they will go and think about migrating those workload. So currently we are deferring the migration. We are retaining it and we will be migrating it at a later time. See, while doing all these discovery, assessment and stuff, we will get to know that there are some servers which has been running in our data center without any purpose at all. Okay, there are some servers they will identify, like maybe out of, if you're assessing 100,000 servers, there will be at least 30 to 40 server no one knows why it is running. Okay, so you will have to tell them that there is nothing. We'll power off the server. We'll maybe keep it idle for 2 weeks, and like cool off period is they'll call it as cool down period. They will power off for 2 weeks and so on, and they will go and take a backup, full backup, and decommission those servers. Okay, there will be a lot of such systems that will be there in your environment. No one will be knowing why it is running. They might have created it for some POC or whatever, and they might have left it like that. Okay, so these are the different approaches that we can go and take when you are planning for any migration or transformation or modernization. See, what they will do is they will put all the CI, okay, configuration item, server 1, server 2, database 1, database 2, application 1, application 2. So all these information will be put in a kind of tracker or in a kind of migration tracker, and we will be going and entering the approach, migration or modernization approach. We have to say this server will be done using rehosting approach. This database will be done using replatforming approach. This application will be migrated to rehosting model, or some application will be migrated to a kind of replatforming or re-architecture model. So we need to kind of map all the resources with a specific approach. Okay, this is the kind of tool set, or you might have a dashboard which will give you visibility on which server can be migrated when, which server is easy to migrate. It gives you the complexity and priority information by putting all the CI information in a tracker. That is what the migration team will generally do. Okay, so any questions on these 6 different migration path or method?
No, Stan. Good.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so no question means it is good to proceed further. Okay, so if you are a solution architect, or if you are an enterprise architect, we need to kind of do a kind of discovery and assessment in 2 aspects. Okay, many architect will fail by doing the assessment in 2 different approach. See, for example, we should have to do a quantitative measurement. We call it as quantitative analysis. Also, we have to do a qualitative analysis. I'll give you some examples, no worries. Okay, so when you do an assessment or analysis, some people will do only quantitative, some people will do only qualitative, and they will miss the other area. So quantitative means it is like measuring the capacity, like what is the current CPU, what is the current memory, what is the current consumption, what is the current usage. Okay, so whether in terms of performance, is there any bottleneck, what is the amount of network traffic that is going on, what are the version compatibility. Okay, what are the current versions running, are there any kind of old machines. Okay, whether how much is the current consumption. Okay, all these are quantitative. We are measuring, we are understanding the data platform, what is the version we are running, what is the CPU usage, memory usage, what is the service usage, which server is talking to which server, how much traffic is flowing. So these are all something we need to measure it in a quantitative way. But qualitative analysis is the legacy information, the OS version, whether how critical this application is for the business, how important is the application for their business, where which particular vendors are dependent on that. Okay, so dependency with third party vendor, or who exactly manages it. Are there any process dependency, whether we need to involve some specific vendor, or whether there has to be additional investment that is available, whether the current end users are happy about the service, whether there are any performance issues that are currently going on. So we need to understand from the qualitative way also. So how the database schema is currently developed, are there any issues with the end user experience? So we need to kind of qualitatively do the assessment also. Some people will only think about quantity and they will start the migration. There also there will be a lot of challenges at a later time. So we need to think assessment from two different aspects. You need to collect some qualitative information and quantitative information, so that your migration can be quicker. You can have a great success ratio if you have all this information, right? So you guys are able to follow me, like what exactly I'm referring to, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative,
Yep.
yeah, good. Okay, so qualitative means you need to understand the business priority, like what is the business roadmap, what is the investment they have on their application, whether this application has got a lot of investment, what is the current operational cost, what is the current investment, or whether they are deploying the application using agile model, or whether they are deploying using some DevOps model, or what kind of model they are using currently to create the application, how frequently the application is changing. So whether there is some DevOps implementation, the change frequency of the application. So these are all something which we need to definitely understand. And the other area is the qualitative, the numbers. Okay, how many users are accessing the website, how much time it is taking to load the page, how much time the users are spending on a particular page. Okay, so like numbers. Okay, it's all spending on a particular page, spending on a particular language, what is the language of the application, what kind of development platform they have used, what is the DB version. Okay, so I've already mentioned the version, but anyway, so you can capture all of those. Okay, which system is talking to which system, the dependency mapping. Okay, I think we are captured almost all of them. Okay, so you need to do a kind of approach assessment in both quantitative and a qualitative way. Okay, so let's see. We have covered the tools, we have covered the phases, we have covered what is needed to justify. Okay, and okay, what is the other aspect you might think? See, I talked about tools, right? So from customer standpoint, what do you think they will ask you? See, if I go and say I'm going to use, for example, Carbonite or Zerto or Azure Migrate for migration, what might be the question you think the customer will ask? Just think. Okay, see, you guys are more senior people, right? Everyone.
Yeah,
Security of
probably the mm, approach for the migration or whatever the
Okay, fine.
re-platform
Approach.
or things.
Okay,
Because
approach.
the for example, we have 1,000 application and we have to segregate the four quadrant kind of business critical, non-business critical, and some of the things that we have to don't touch for the immediate migration, because some of things we have to migrate for immediately, then some of things no need to migrate for some time, and those things we have to probably the business clients they are looking for.
Correct. So those are all something which we are talking about the approach, right? So what I'm asking here
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
see, I'll tell you. So the approach is already covered. So licensing details, they will ask how much licenses is needed, what
Yes.
kind of cost is involved, and very important thing that will ask is whether we need to deploy any agent, or whether it is an agentless migration, or whether it is an agentless discovery, or whether it is a assessment that you are doing, whether it needs any additional security ports to be opened, or any kind of security changes need to be happen, or what kind of impact these tools are going to bring in. So that is what the customer will be understanding, right? They want to be prepared. They want to understand the readiness. What is the cost estimation? What, in order to do the dependency mapping and analysis, see, you cannot just like that seeing at the environment, you cannot understand anything. You need to put together some tools. You need to put together some integration. Then only you will be able to do it. So that's where you need to understand which tools listed here are agent and agentless. See, for example, I will say like Azure Migrate is the primary tool which we are going to use, right? So Azure Migrate can work agent based or agentless based on the source environment. If it is VMware or Hyper-V, or if it is AWS, so some can be done agentless, some can be done agent with the agent. Similarly, current technology, it can be again agent based and agentless. There are two options that are also provided. And if you're talking about Unified Cloud, it also provides you agent and agentless option. So Movier, same thing. Zerto, same thing. Okay, so you have different tools which can help you to migrate the workload with agent and agentless. See, current technology is primarily agentless. That is the most robust tool. Okay, for server migration and all, either it is VMware or Hyper-V or physical or other cloud, these technology will support all of them. That is another thing, right? Whether we need to use different tools for different technology, then that also will be a question from the customer, whether the coverage or the scope, whether we need to use multiple tools or one tool will cover all of them. So this will cover all of them. Okay, so current technology will be agentless and it will cover almost VMware, Hyper-V, physical, other public cloud, and so on. And on the other side, whether it will cover Windows, Linux, and other workload. Okay, so even the current technology, it will cover Windows, Linux, and Unix also. Some Unix also can be migrated and cut over in with minimal downtime. And if you talk about the Carbonite and other tools, it is again Carbonite is agent based. It doesn't support agentless. Okay, so that's where there are some tools which might be challenging. So there are some specific tools. Okay, Rackware is there, right? So Rackware we generally use for some specific workload. For example, if I have a Zen virtualization or if I have a KVM virtualization, if I want to migrate it to Azure, then Rackware is a very powerful tool. Okay, so for some technology, some organization provide you specialized tool. Rackware is primarily helpful for Zen virtualized virtual machine or KVM VMs. Okay, for those you can use Rackware. Similarly, there are some tools which can be used for some specific purposes. So Carbonite can be definitely used for all of these. Okay, VMware, Windows and Linux, all those things. Okay, you need to understand their approach, understand the licensing cost information, whether it is agent or agentless, or what kind of impact you need to change, what kind of changes we need to do, whether the data will be going out of the data center, data will be taken out of the data center, or whether they will be doing the assessment and storing the data within the data center. So all these questions as a customer, they will ask you. Okay, we need to provide answers. What kind of, for example, someone will say like, I have a lot of SUSE Linux server, whether your tool will support. So we need to tell like, yeah, these tools like Corentech and Carbonite, all these things will support SUSE Linux. So you need to identify the compatibility. Okay, so the approach, whether the versions are supportable, how many tools we need to do, the coverage and stuff, right? So any other area which I'm missing here?
Yeah, data production policies also we have to. There is one of the thing because some of the data we can't store it in some regions due to some security purpose, right?
Okay, correct. Okay, that is true. Okay, so okay, good. So these are the important aspects we need to kind of discuss with the customer. Okay, so this is another important thing. Okay, so before we get into the migration, or we have completed the discovery and assessment, and we are doing a planning. So during the planning, we can also fast track or help migration to succeed or complete much quicker. So what kind of things you will do